Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hidden Gems podcast. This is the series that we do on Rachel's Reviews every week, where we like to give you some suggestions on the streaming platforms that you love. We'll pick one and we talk about 5 different hidden gems that might not be the most obvious picks that you can watch on that streaming platform. And today we are going back to HBO Max. This is the newest platform that just started last week, and so we're all just kind of getting accustomed to it, getting used to it, and but we each have 5 choices, and I'm joined by my friend Ryan is here.
Hey Rachel, so good to hear your voice once again, and it's so good to be here with you. I feel like I already said that, and I just realized I did, but I'm just so happy to be here. This is like my favorite time of the week, being here with you, and just let's rock and roll.
Yes, I know. I really look forward to it every week. And last week we got to be joined by my friend Eli to talk about some different films with diverse casts and featuring people of color. That was really fun, and that was something different. And so hope people enjoyed that. But today we are just talking about HBO Max, and let's dive in. So my first choice for HBO Max is the movie Babe. And a lot of people might not remember that this movie, which came out in 1995, that it was nominated for Best Picture when they only had 5 choices. And I think with Just Cause, it's such a charming, lovely little movie that has something to say about trying to understand something that's different than yourself, trying to listen instead of just barking orders and doing things the way things are for no reason except for that's the way things are. And then you have this pig who comes in and does things differently, and the sheep have to learn to listen to the pig. And I just love it. I love James Cromwell in it. I think it's such a sweet, lovely performance. And I love if I had words to make a day for you, I'd make you a morning golden and true. I love that song so much.
Somebody call American Idol stat.
Yeah, right. I love that song, and I love the movie. I think it's such a sweet. I love the duck. He's hilarious. And so it's one of my favorite family films that I've ever seen. Have you seen Babe?
I've always heard about it, but I've always heard about it, but I never saw it. I always assumed that movie was directed by George Miller, like Mad Max Fury Road, George Miller. But then I did some research, and it was like, no, it was the sequel that he directed.
And the sequel is bonkers. It's crazy. I love it.
It's George Miller. Did you expect anything less?
That's right. And so you kind of have to know what you're getting yourself into. It was very divisive when it came out, the sequel, but some critics really liked it. Like Gene Siskel named it his #1 movie of the whole year that year.
Wow, and that's big praise coming from Siskel.
Yeah, I think it was 98 or 99, something like that, the sequel. And so it's it's interesting, but I love the original Babe so much, and I highly recommend that you watch it, especially if you're feeling down and you want to watch something that'll bring a smile to your face. And I think then you should definitely watch it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of James Cromwell as well. I loved him as the crotchety flight director in Space Cowboys with Clint Eastwood and all his friends, and I liked him as the dead scientist who invented the robots in iRobot with Will Smith.
He's even in which is the Next Generation movie that he's in. I think it's Insurrection, Nemesis. I can't remember, but he's in one of the Star Trek movies, and he's actually pretty good in it.
Let me take a look. Let me look it up really quick. He was also in The Green Mile. Also, he was the warden.
Oh yeah.
He was in First Contact as Zephram Cochrane. He was the guy that broke warp for the first time.
That's right. Yeah, he's good in that, and that's like the good one of the good Next Generation movies. So.
Yeah, the only good one, and it turned out to be like in the top 5 of like considering originals and Next Generation. That
Yeah,
turned out to be one of the best ones.
right, exactly. So you should definitely check out Babe on HBO Max. But anyway, what's your first pick?
So my first pick is from 2013, and it is called The Judge. This stars Robert Downey Jr. when he was really in the thick of his run in the MCU. It also stars Robert Duvall and Vincent D'Onofrio, among others, and it tells the story of a hotshot lawyer played by Downey who goes back to his hometown and to defend his father because his father, played by Duvall, is a highly respected judge, but he gets caught up in an accident when he is assumed to be the driver who perpetrated a hit and run on a and killed somebody. So his son is like, all right, I'm going to step up and take the defense. And what makes the movie so interesting is that Downey and Duvall's relationship is strained at best, and that's about as nice as I can say about it. There's a lot of history there, and Duvall takes the stance of, I am of the law. The law is the only thing that we can count on in this world. If I'm going to jail, then I'm going to jail. And Downey's like, God, Dad, at least let me defend you. And so it's a nice back and forth. The highlight of the movie is the chemistry between Downey and Duvall, because Robert Duvall, we all know who he is. He's been in too many movies to even mention. And after Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. just got a credibility boost, despite the fact that he was in movies like Chaplin and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and Zodiac. Everyone's like, oh, he's just going to be the Iron Man guy forever. Well, The Judge proved that he can be a great actor if he wants to. There's also Billy Bob Thornton, who's in there as the prosecution, who has a collapsible water flask, which is pretty unique. And the movie is just really good. I love courtroom dramas, and this has a lot of courtroom drama in there. So if you're into courtroom stuff, then this is the good stuff.
Yeah, I have seen this, and I remember thinking the talent was elevated at that they were really good, and you can't deny that uh, Downey Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall, and I mean some of the best actors that we have, and so it's definitely one I should revisit because it's been a while since I saw it. So I think we maybe forget because we're just so used to him as Iron Man that he is a a really talented actor outside of the MCU as well.
Yeah, and Doolittle has done absolutely nothing for
Yeah.
him, but I digress. That
Luckily,
movie doesn't deserve any mention.
I guess luckily 2020 has been such a train wreck that we've all forgotten the trauma
Yeah,
of Doolittle. I
I'm
don't
kind of
know.
nostalgic for the days when I was thought, oh, Doolittle's going to be the worst thing that happens this year.
That's right. So my next suggestion is a documentary. It's called Mommy Dead and Dearest. And this documentary can send you down the spiral that is the Gypsy and Dee Dee Blanchard case. If you think true crime is interesting, if you like it, then at least for me, I just was so fascinated by this case. And I watched pretty much anything and everything and listened to almost everything that had to do with this case because it's so bizarre. It's so this documentary, it's about Dee Dee and Gypsy Blanchard, and Dee Dee basically manipulated her daughter into believing that she had all of these illnesses and problems, and she spoke like she was like a little girl, even if she was 19, 20. She lied to her about her age. I mean, just crazy. But then also like Gypsy, because she grew up that way, was also super manipulative, and so it's like really unclear of like who is kind of at fault here, like how much, because Gypsy ends up killing her mother, and it's like, is she doing it out of because she's trapped by this woman and who's manipulating and controlling her, or did she murder her? Like, where's the line? And so that's fascinating, and the whole thing is just so bizarre and interesting. And there's like a whole name for this type of manipulation. It's something by proxy. I forget the name. But anyway, when you convince people that they're sick and you trick them, it's so weird. And if you go down this spiral, you can watch Mommy Dead and Dearest, which is there's a documentary about it. And then you can watch, there's a really trashy Lifetime movie about it. And and then you can watch on Hulu on a show called The Act. They had a part like a 10-part series with Joey King playing Gypsy and Patricia Arquette playing Dee Dee. So good. Chloe Sevigny's in it. Really good. And especially the beginning part. It loses some traction in the middle, but it was very well done, and that's on Hulu. And so there's just no end to the fascinations. So if you're looking for something to kind of take up your time, go on the Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose Blanchard train of thought, I guess. And
I was going to say rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. That's a good word for it.
When you started talking about this, I was sitting here thinking to myself, why does this sound so familiar? But then you said, oh, it was a trashy Lifetime movie. I'm like, that's where I remember it, because I saw the trailer for it, because my mom watches Lifetime all the time, and I keep like, Mom, why do you watch that? And I'm like, I like it. And I'm like, it's dumb. And I'm like, think I care. So I've seen the trailer for that, and I also saw the trailer for The Act. And I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, like 19-year-old girl who thinks she's 4. I know it now. And so it's like, as you're talking about it, I'm like, oh man, it's like it's coming back to me in shifts, and so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I have a whole podcast on Hallmark, so no judgment for me about watching Lifetime. And it's fun. It's fun to just unwind on some silly, campy, ridiculous programming. I think Catherine Keener, or somebody like that is in the Lifetime one. So they went all out.
This is a bit of a side road, but on Netflix, there is a documentary series called Evil Genius, the true story of America's most diabolical bank heist. And if you want to talk about crazy crimes, like it starts off as like this guy who strapped a bomb to his vest to try and rob this bank. And it just gets crazier from there, and just, rabbit holes and twists and turns. And it's 4 episodes, so you can go through it pretty quickly. But it's I'm fascinated by true crime. So it's like, it's like one of those things where I was like, Evil Genius, like, what is this? And
that sounds good, because I love McMillions.
I went through it in like a night. I believe it's from the same people as Making a Murderer. So if you're into that,
I love that kind of stuff. Like, I loved McMillions, this last thing, and it's Marcia Gay Harden who is in the Oscar winner. Marcia Gay Harden is in the Lifetime one, but it's just a fascinating, insane story, and the documentary will just leave your mouth on the ground, like, you can't believe that this happened. And
in the words of the famous philosopher Rowdy Roddy Piper, just when you think you know the answers, I change the questions.
That's right. That's very true. So what's your second pick?
So my second pick, we're going from weird true crime documentaries to one of the more underrated comic book, I want to say one of the more underrated comic book animated movies ever. It's Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. I thought it was right Rachel, since you nominated Mask of the Phantasm, I counter that with Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, because it's just as good. I won't say better, but it is just as good.
Mm.
Batman Beyond is the spiritual successor to the animated series. It focuses on an elder Bruce Wayne who passes the bat mantle onto a younger man named Terry McGinnis. And we see Terry McGinnis's adventures through that. It only lasted 3 seasons, but it has developed a massive cult following. And everyone's like, we should get a Batman Beyond live action movie, and ditto, and et cetera, et cetera. I don't know about the live action movie, but if it's as good as Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, then I'll happily endorse it. The Joker returns and is of course voiced by Mark Hamill, so that's an automatic stamp of quality right there. Kevin Conroy, if my memory serves me right, returns as Bruce Wayne, so that's good too. And it, no joke, features one of the scariest scenes you will see in any animated superhero movie ever. Like, they do not hold back at all. Like, the gloves are taken off, and it just, you don't see it coming. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, good Lord. And it's like, if you can get past that, then it's definitely impressive. But I won't say that this is of the same quality as Mask of the Phantasm, but if you're a Batman fan, it's definitely something that will tickle your fancy.
Yeah, I really want to see this movie. I need to get it done because I've just heard nothing but raves about it. I got a little bit turned off of the animated Batman movies with The Killing Joke, which I just thought was so awful. It was not for me, and so I kind of need to dive back and start to trust him again.
Yeah, don't start off with Batman Ninja. That is some weird stuff right there.
Okay, yeah, and I hated Batman and Harley Quinn. That was awful.
I
I
wanted to love that movie so much, but it just turned into something that I was just like, you are going down a path that I can't follow, DC animated universe.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really bad. And so but I have heard good things about that one. And I've heard there was some talk, or there's been some talk of sort of a Spider-Verse inspired kind of take on Batman Beyond, which would be amazing. I would love.
They have so much material they could take from.
Mhm.
Just go to town, like just do a reunion of the Keat of like get the Michael Keaton in the studio, get Val Kilmer. You can even get George Clooney for like 30 seconds if you want to. He's not doing all that much. He's just selling tequila now, just to get him in a recording booth,
Yeah,
like license to print money.
that's right. Like it would be so cool, that style of animation with the aesthetics of Batman. It would be really neat to see what they could do with it. So very good choice. All right. Well, my number 3 choice is from Studio Ghibli. It was actually made just before Studio Ghibli, but it's in that section of HBO Max. It's called Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and this,
Longest title ever.
yeah, and this is the second film that Hayao Miyazaki made. His first original project, as opposed to the Lupin movie. And this is a dystopian film, which usually I don't like those because they're just, I don't know, they're too cynical for my taste. But this one is actually really hopeful, and I feel actually quite calming when I watch it. Part of that is the music. I absolutely love the music by Joe Hisashi, who would go on to work with Hayao Miyazaki on most of his films, and they just do such a great job of collaborating together. And it's about this girl who is a princess of a dystopian kind of land, and there's these it's called the Valley of the Wind, and there becomes uh, a group that's going to be attacking their little enclave that they have that's been protected from the from the savages that have uh, how to explain it? They've been protected because they're in this valley, so they haven't had the chemical pollutants and some other things. And part of the reason that they've been protected is they have these giant bugs, and they've made there's this whole jungle that has made that is so toxic that that nobody can like live there. And part of the reason they're protected is yeah, they have these giant bugs, and so these people are coming and attacking them, and so they have to respond. And I don't know, I just love it. It's very peaceful. It's a very hopeful film about her doing whatever she has to do to bring peace. And she's just such a calming, peaceful, lovely, wonderful character. She's not a kick butt character in the sense of a typical warrior character, but she's kick butt in the sense of she will do whatever it takes to protect her people, and she just loves her people so much. You just get a sense of such loving with her, and I definitely recommend it. I think it's really beautifully animated. Like I said, the music, and it's very creative. These giant bugs and some of the other ideas, it's very, very creative. So I recommend it.
Yeah, I second that. This is one of the three Studio Ghibli movies I saw in theaters, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like it was during Studio Ghibli Fest, and I was like, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. This is the one that I've heard the least, and
Mm-hmm.
out of the ones I've seen in theaters, this is the one that I've gone back to the most
Yeah.
because on the one hand, like you said, the movie looks absolutely gorgeous. Like there are three places that I would want to live, and I have ranked them in terms of possibility of living, and that's
Right.
Yosemite National Park, the Shire, and the Valley of the Wind. I'm thinking the first one is a little within my price range, but the other two not so much. But hey, a guy can dream, am I
Yeah.
right? But and anyway, the
You know what I
English
mean though, that
cast.
she's such a calming figure. Like she just has such a love for her people.
Yeah,
And
she
everything that she does is dictated by her love.
yeah, and she doesn't make any easy decisions either.
Yes.
It's like it's either to you or through you. You know, it's there's no compromise. It's like it's like she doesn't negotiate with the terrorists or the bugs in this case.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, yeah, very, very, very true. So people
And
should check it out. It's really worth your time. And like I said, I don't normally like dystopian stories, like not a Hunger Games fan or those kinds of stories. I love this. So
and one more shout out, one more thing before we move on. The cast in the English cast in here is phenomenal too. Patrick Stewart is in this. Edward James
yeah.
Olmos, who I was in 20 Feet of at one time.
Mm-hmm.
He's in this, and he's great as well. Shia LaBeouf in a rare good performance. He's in this as well. So yeah, give a moment to think about how good the English cast is they got for this.
Yeah, no doubt. And so yeah, they did such a great job with the English dubbing during this period when Disney and John Lasseter and that whole crew was managing the dubs. They did such a good job. So uh, the I actually forgot to write down whether it's in sub or dub on HBO Max. I think you can.
It's both.
It's both. Okay, good, good.
Yeah, I was looking earlier when you sent me your list, and there's an option on there where you can watch the Japanese or you can watch the English.
Oh, good. So what's your number 3?
So my third choice is from 1980, and it was the best picture of 1980. It was called Ordinary People. This was written and directed by Robert Redford. We all know who he is, and Butch Cassidy, among other things. And it starred Donald Sutherland in one of the best performances of his career, Mary Tyler Moore, and Timothy Hutton in, I believe, was his debut. Though don't quote me on that. I may be wrong, but Ordinary People is about this very affluent family who lose one of their children in a boating accident. Their younger son, played by Timothy Hutton, is so grief-stricken that he tries to commit suicide and fails. So the entire family is basically living in this state of, well, stasis. They really don't know where they go from here. So the younger boy goes to therapy, and the therapist is played by Judd Hirsch, who, if I remember correctly, won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for his performance. Wow, this movie won a lot of awards now that I think about it. But I recently watched this movie for the first time because I went through like as many movies as I could watch from the year 1980, just because. And Ordinary People was on there, and it was gutting. Like, it was a really, really hard movie to watch, like in terms of emotions, but it was also really well made and really well acted. Donald Sutherland, who among other things was President Snow in the Hunger Games movies, is unrecognizable. Like, he starts off as like, I am the businessman, I am strong, but by the end he is just emotionally bankrupt. Like, he has just lost it. Mary Tyler Moore, who is of course Mary Tyler Moore, is almost unrecognizable in this as well. She's kind of cold and closed herself off from basically everything. And Timothy Hutton, who would go on to have a lengthy career that still lasts to this day, like, he's really good in this as well, and he goes through a wide range of emotions, and the movie is really an acting movie. You don't worry about cinematography or special effects. No, this is a performance driven movie. And if you love those, then like Ordinary People is the good stuff. It's one of the best, more underrated movies of the 1980s that nobody really talks about.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because it was a big scandal for a lot of people, at least when it won for Best Picture. It was an interesting couple of years there. In the year before, Kramer versus Kramer had beat Apocalypse Now, and then here you had Ordinary People beating Raging Bull, and so it was kind of two years when sort of smaller melodramas beat out the the bigger films. And
two really quick things. Number one, people angry at the Academy? You don't say. and number two, if I had a choice between Raging Bull and Ordinary People, while I enjoy both movies greatly, it's Ordinary People every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah. I've never seen Raging Bull, actually, but I have seen Ordinary People.
I watched it for the AFI project, and I get why people love it, but I just thought it was repetitive. Like, oh, Robert De Niro is saying a sexist thing. Cool. Great. It's not like the other 5 times he's done that in the past 15 minutes.
Yeah. It was a pretty strong year, though. 1980. They had Ordinary People, The Elephant Man, Raging Bull.
Elephant Man is a good one. Raging Bull's a good one.
Coal Miner's Daughter, which I like.
Love Coal Miner's Daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry to be stepping all over you, but Coal Miner's Daughter is excellent. Like, like Sissy Spacek, to go from Carrie to friggin' this demure Southern girl who is really, really good at singing, and Tommy Lee Jones is like this abusive guy for half the movie. Is like, who are these people? Like, what are these actors doing?
And then a version of Tessa's Dubervilles called Tess, that I've never heard of, was also nominated that year. So pretty.
Yeah, never heard of that one either.
Yeah, pretty strong year, and so Ordinary People took it that year, and a lot of people thought the Raging Bull should have won, but whatever. But I have seen Ordinary People, and I think it's a tough sit.
It really is, but it's
hard to watch, but it's powerful.
Yeah, especially the ending. I won't give it away for anyone who hasn't seen it, but the last scene between Timothy Hutton and Judd Hirsch is just got me right in the feels. And Donald Sutherland's final scene, where the two and where he and Hutton just sit there and talk it out. It's like, wow. So this is what an Oscar movie is supposed to be.
And a pretty strong debut for Robert Redford. His first movie.
Really, yes.
Yeah, direct. So good pick. Yeah, very good pick. All right, my fourth movie. Talk about a swing to another spectrum, but my
Oh, geez.
fourth movie is a animated comedy. It's Teen Titans Go to the Movies, and well, maybe I've seen an episode here, an episode there. I know a lot of people really hate the Teen Titans Go show because they love
Me
the original
included.
Teen Titans. But I have never seen either show, so I was disinvested from that whole debate. I didn't care. I just went in and watched the movie, and I laughed a lot. I thought it was really funny, and they're definitely trying to do sort of the whole like Deadpool kind of riffing off of and making fun of superhero movie tropes and different things like that. And I actually I haven't seen that many of those kinds of movies because they're usually just not my taste. I saw the Once Upon a Deadpool and I hated it. I thought it was
Yeah, like
awful.
I like the first. I love the first Deadpool. The second one had its moments, but like Once Upon a Deadpool, I don't care if it was done for a charity. It was like you don't do a PG-13 Deadpool. You just don't.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't know how emblematic that is of the Deadpool movies, but I just found it so obnoxious. I did not like it at all. And so I don't know what I would think of Deadpool, but I'm told that this is somewhat similar to what they do. And I just thought this was really funny and it really made me laugh. And particularly all of the jokes about Batman v Superman that they sneak in there about I don't know, about Martha and about just some of the other things that they make fun of, and were made me laugh. And the animation is serviceable. It's perfectly fine, and they got a pretty strong voice cast. And so you're somebody who hates the show. So did you hate the movie?
I never saw it out of
Oh,
principle
okay.
because I watched the original Teen Titans show that ran from 2005 to 2007. I watched every episode on the night it premiered. Like
Mm-hmm.
that movie was, or not that movie, that show was just so wonderful. And it was like, this was around the time when I was really starting to get into animation. Uh, uh, I had just finished watching the Justice League show, Justice League Unlimited, and Teen Titans was like kind of the spiritual sequel to it. It had a lot of the same animation style and a lot of the same story beats. But I will go on record because I don't want to come off as hypocritical. I will go on record as saying that Teen Titans, the 0507 show, could be really silly at times. It had over the top visuals and anime style, like faces and gestures and language. I totally understand that. But when it got serious, it was really serious and it took the
Mm.
plot line seriously and the characters grew. And Raven, her father, was the devil himself, and she had to deal with that. And Robin had a crisis of confidence. And so when the series got heavy, it took itself seriously.
Yeah.
Teen Titans Go to the Movies is basically everything I hate about meme culture today, pre-packaged and given to children. And on principle, I just don't like it. And so when I heard that they made a movie out of this, and Teen Titans from 2005 only got a TV movie, a good TV movie, but a TV movie, I just thought that there was no God on that day. So I never saw it.
Yeah.
However, I have heard everybody say that it's actually pretty good. So I think as an animation fan, I think I may have to soften my stance slightly in order to acquiesce to watch Teen Titans Go to the movies.
Like
Because
here's the level of humor. There's a scene where where Batman and Superman are fighting, and there's like, "Your mother's name's Martha, my mother's name's Martha." And then they stop, and then he's like, "Well, what's your father's name?" And he's like, "Jonathan." "Okay, mine's Thomas." And then they keep going fighting. Like it's so like
Okay,
That made me laugh. That's
that
funny to me.
actually was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'll give him that. That was actually pretty good.
That's the kind of jokes that are throughout the whole thing, like just really riffing off of superhero pop culture, and they have a really funny Stan Lee cameo in it. They have just stuff like that that's quite humorous and poke fun
Okay,
at DC, poke
okay,
fun at Marvel.
with that in mind, I think I will relent and I will give Teen Titans Go to the Movies a shot.
Well, you'll have to let me know what you think
I'm
when
doing it for
when you
you,
see it. All
Rachel.
right.
Not for Teen Titans Go, but for you.
What's your number 4?
So my number 4, speaking on animation, I'm going to be talking about another TV series from 2005 called Ben 10. Now, there is another series on HBO Max called Ben 10. I'm talking about the one from 2005, not the 2018 one. If you're searching it on HBO Max, please be sure to look out for the yellow poster, not the blue one. Like, the yellow poster is just Ben on the front with the aliens like in the background off subtly. You're not looking for the blue one with Ben going to the left and the aliens running immediately behind him. Yellow, not blue. Anyway, in 2005, that was a weird side road. In 2005, Ben 10 was released, and it came out at the right time because uh, I was struggling with a lot of my confidence skills, and so Ben 10 was a show about, you know, just believing in yourself and just really being trying to be extraordinary. It's about a young boy who finds a watch that has 10 aliens built into it, and when their DNA link, you can use the watch to transform into one of 10 aliens. And the series was surprisingly great, and it actually was one of the first long running series that I can remember. You know, like, it felt episodic, but it was all building up to something, kind of like the MCU would eventually do it. But instead of Thanos, it was the villain known as Vilgax, and he basically looks like Cthulhu if he learned how to walk. And at the end of every season, Vilgax would try and take the watch that Ben has because it is the ultimate weapon in the universe. And Ben's like, no, 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 this is my timepiece. I'm keeping it. And so every season would be just this big battle, and it was really epic. Ben would be voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, who I'm a big fan of. Ben would have a cousin named Gwen, and would often have other villains to fight, like Kevin Levin, whose middle name is E, so Kevin E. Levin. Do you get it? I'll allow you to get it. Get it, get it, get it, get it.
Yeah,
There it is.
I got
And
it.
they have he has his Grandpa Max, love Grandpa Max, who is secretly who spent his entire life fighting off aliens throughout the galaxy. And it's just such an inventive show. It's so good, and it spun off into several other series like Ben 10 Alien Force and Ben 10 Ultimate Alien that I'll hopefully talk about in another episode. But anyway, Ben 10, it's a great show.
I have never heard of that show, so you're introducing it to me for the first time. So cool, very good. There's not that many animated things I've never heard of, but you found one, so that's great.
Yeah, it's more action oriented, so it's more action
Uh-huh.
oriented, like in a similar vein, like Avatar: The Last Airbender or Teen Titans or a lot of the other like shows that were shown on the late stages of the Toonami block on Cartoon Network.
Huh.
It was all about, you know, it was an action show,
Cool.
but it's a good action show.
Good. All right. Well, my final choice is definitely not action, but it's worth your time. It is the film Giant from 1956. This is a
James Dean.
yes,
James Dean.
one of the few James Dean roles. This is a very long movie, but if you kind of treat it as more of a binge watch than because it feels very episodic within the film. I think that this would make a great HBO miniseries if they wanted to update it and do a remake. I think you could really make a good television show out of this. I think it's based on a book, if I'm not mistaken. It's about this family in Texas I think it's the 30s. I forget the time period. And basically, Rock Hudson's character, his name is Bick, and he comes with he comes back home to his family in Texas, and with his new wife, new fiance, played by Elizabeth Taylor, and so when they get back to the ranch, his brother, played by James Dean, named Jet, is super jealous, and there's all this family drama, and it's a perfect movie to watch in the summer because the movie is really hot all the time. Like everything looks like it's smoldering over, and it gives you a really good sense of place and time, and the acting is very good. It is a long movie, and it's pretty slow at times, but in like deliberately so, to really get you in the sense of who these people are and who these characters are. And it's very melodramatic, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. So yeah, there we go, Giant.
If I remember correctly, I think James Dean shot this movie and then he tragically passed away.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure which order when that all happened, but yes, he did die really young. And um it's I watched it is I'm not sure if it was Turner Classic, but on one of those classic uh movie series at the theater, and it was a long sit for one movie. It's almost 3.5 hours long, but it's really good. I really admired it, and I just felt like it had such a sense of place of this in this family, and and the acting is so good.
Yeah, I've this is one of those movies that I've always heard about, but I never got around to it. But since I've been doing the AFI project, I've been really in a like an older movie phase, so I'll definitely have to find this one.
Yeah, and this was nominated for Best Picture. It had 15 nominations, and uh, it won, I think, for Best Director. So anyway, what's your final pick?
So my final pick is a documentary from HBO Sports. It is called McEnroe and Borg: Fire and Ice. This is about the legendary rivalry in the sport of tennis that happened from the late 70s to the early 80s between Swedish player Bjorn Borg and American player John McEnroe. Um, Something you all should know about me is that I like playing tennis, but watching tennis is one of the most boring things that you could possibly do. I would rather watch the grass grow. But I find tennis rivalries to be surprisingly fascinating, whether it's between McEnroe and Borg or Nadal and Federer. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love watching tennis, but or I love playing tennis, but watching tennis not so much. However, the people over at HBO Documentaries made the rivalry between Borg and McEnroe out to be one of the biggest ever, because Borg and McEnroe could not be any more different if you tried. Bjorn Borg was a super stoic player. Like he was super, you know, he was literally cool as ice. Once he got out there, he had a job to do and he was going to do it. And he won like 5 Wimbledons, if I remember correctly, which is a pretty big deal. John McEnroe, on the other hand, was the complete opposite of that. He was a loud and brash American, and he was going to let you know of it. Like, no, there was there was not a penalty judge that didn't feel his wrath, and it's honestly pretty hysterical to be like, "Are you kidding me?" It is like the refined sport of tennis, and then here comes this frizzy-haired McEnroe just like yelling up the place. But what makes this documentary so fascinating is that together separately they did great. Together, though, they created magic, and it all focuses on the 1980 Wimbledon finals, where it went into a 5-set overtime where it was looking like, okay, Borg's got this in the bag, but then McEnroe just kept coming back and coming back and coming back. Borg would eventually win, but McEnroe was like, yeah, I almost had you. So it was like Borg got the the actual victory, but McEnroe got the moral victory at the same time. I'm a big fan of HBO sports documentaries. I love the Do You Believe in Miracles about the 1980 U.S. hockey team one. I believe I've mentioned that on a past episode. There's this one I like called Back Nine at Cherry Hills about the finals of the 1960 U.S. Open golf tournament. And there's another one featuring the rivalry between Magic Johnson and the Boston Celtics player. His name is Bird. Rachel,
Larry
can you help
Bird.
me out here?
Larry
Larry
Bird.
Bird. Thank you. Went on such a tangent, I had a brain fart, but that I'll definitely be talking about later. But McEnroe and Borg Fire and Ice is one of those documentaries that really does not get talked about, and I think it should be because it's really well made.
I've never met me a 30 for 30 that I didn't love, so I'm sure that I would love this. I love the getting into the minds of these players. It's, even if you don't like sports, you'll like these movies because they're about people more than they are about sports. And this one sounds like another good one. I'll definitely have to check it out.
Yeah, you will absolutely love Liev Schreiber's narration. Like, he narrates all of these sports documentaries, and he does an A-plus job every single time. He makes the documentary better just by his voice alone.
Yeah. Cool. Great. Yeah. So we did it. Let's go over our list real quick. So I had Babe, Mommy Dead and Dearest, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, Teen Titans Go to the Movies, and Giant. So nobody can say that I didn't offer you a variety of films today in the show. That's for sure.
And my list is The Judge, Batman Beyond, Return of the Joker, Ordinary People, Ben 10, and McEnroe and Borg. And it's Ben 10, the 2005 version. Don't get it twisted.
Okay, good. Very, 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 very good. So let us know if you have seen any of these, what you think. And Ryan, how can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at RyanCam20. On my YouTube channel, Ryan Cam Movie Reviews, I'm still continuing the AFI project. Rachel and I are recording this on a Monday, which means that my episode on Sunset Boulevard has dropped. And on Wednesday, I will be dropping my episode for Mike Nichols's comedy, The Graduate. And then either on Friday or Saturday, we'll be dropping my episode on the Buster Keaton classic, The General. I've also got ones coming up for On the Waterfront, It's a Wonderful Life, Chinatown, like The Grapes of Wrath, Some Like It Hot. It's nothing but quality over on my channel. And I've also got a big Nolan series coming up in honor of Tenet coming out in theaters. Thank God. So my channel is going to be a bustling place. So if you haven't subscribed, you've picked a great time. So do yourself a favor and go ahead and subscribe.
That is great. I definitely highly recommend it. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. So please check that out. And then also, I'm at the Hallmarkies podcast. So thanks again, Ryan. This is always so much fun. And we'll look forward to your comments in the comment section or on Twitter. Please let us know your thoughts, and we'll talk again next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.